we want to do, what we want to achieve in the coming years. So first of all, Citizen Science Global Partnership, we define or identified ourselves as the network of networks that seeks to promote and advance citizen science for a sustainable world. I will give you a little bit of the background, why we exist, why and how, after what processes, which processes we went through to come to today. Just to give you some background, the first time that we actually came to existence was in 2017 at the UN Environment Assembly and their event that is UNEP Science Policy Business Forum. And this was the first time that the formation of a citizen science global partnership to work with the global citizen science community was announced. And that was the time that at EASA, we haven't been involved at the Citizen Science Global Partnership. We got involved a bit later. But you may remember, maybe some of you may remember, there was a call for proposals went out, or call for requests went out from the Secretariat of the Citizen Science Global Partnership at that time, which was the Wilson Center. We thank them a lot. Basically, they set up the whole process of Citizen Science Global Partnership very nicely that we took over later on. So then there was a session at the Citizen Science Global Partnership at the European Citizen Science Association Conference in Geneva in the same year. And then we established the Citizen Science Global Partnership Task Force to help establish the organization slowly but steadily. And then we continued our engagement with UNEP on the Science Policy Business Forum, as well as we have done in year 2020. Some of you may have been involved. We've done some consultations with the citizen science community about how we should establish ourselves as a global voice for the citizen science community. And then we established an interim board at that time. But we just recently became a legal entity incorporated as a nonprofit organization at the International Institute for Applied Systems Analysis as the host institution. And with the founding members, being the University of Natural Resources and Life Sciences, Vienna, and the University of Geneva. So this is where the Citizen Science Global Partnership is hosted. This is also the International Institute for Applied Systems Analysis. We're an international scientific institute that is conducting policy-oriented research into global issues. And we're located in the south of Vienna, Austria, in this beautiful palace. And we have about 450 scientists that is working on different aspects of sustainable development and science to policy. So at the Citizen Science Global Partnership, our objectives are very linked to EASA's objective, and that's why EASA is very much interested in being part of the Citizen Science Global Partnership. And these objectives are promoting and supporting the collaboration of continental, regional, and national citizen science associations to further the use of citizen science on a global scale and coordinate actions with all actors, international organizations, national agencies, research institutions, public and non-government organizations, and private companies to address sustainability issues through citizen science and establish a global communities of practice, offer strategic guidance, support the exchange of knowledge and best practices to encourage the scaling up of citizen science initiatives. And we would like to promote open science standards and study and promote the contributions of citizen science to sustainable development. And these are some of our activities that we would like to engage in. One of them may be in advocacy. So we want to advocate for the inclusion of citizen science as a key contributor to sustainable development agendas, not only the SDGs, but others as well, both as contributor for data and also transformative change. We would like to promote citizen science as a unifying, enabling, and multiplying force for change and promoting access to science as a human right. And in terms of collaborations, we want to establish diverse and inclusive partnerships across geographies, cultures, sectors, and disciplines, and creating global opportunities to collaborate among agencies, governments, NGOs, scientific institutions, businesses, and local communities. And we would like to network, build, consolidate, and grow and harmonize global movement for citizen science and encourage and support global communities of practice and working groups, as I was mentioning before. And of course, we would like to advance citizen science research, technology, and data to mainstream its use and advance understanding and promoting the impact and outcomes of citizen science and its tools. So in terms of membership, you may be wondering how I can contribute or how I can engage with this new global partnership that will become the voice for all these regional citizen science associations. Hopefully, at least this is our vision, to work with them together in a very collaborative way. So our membership will be open to networks related to citizen science. For example, European Citizen Science Association, Australian, and all the others, even the national level citizen science associations that are appearing a lot in Europe would be, can be members of the association, as well as civil society, academia, scientific community, industry, governments, and others. And I mentioned this very quickly, but what I would like to highlight that in addition to being the host institute, International Institute for Applied Systems Analysis, together with the Citizen Science Center Zurich and University of Geneva, are also hosting the Secretariat of the Citizen Science Global Partnership. And of course, these are our fundamental founding partners, all the citizen science associations that are working at a regional scale, as well as the funding partners and many others, and all the others that have been contributing to the citizen science activities. So where we are now with our progress, we recently established, as I said, we're just still very new. We're legally established in October 2022, and since then we have been operating at the board level with great contributions from all our board members from citizen science associations in different parts of the world in the board. And we established committees at the board level to work on fundraising and finance for the Citizen Science Global Partnership, but also regional level Citizen Science Global Partnership. For instance, we have been involving Citizen Science Africa just recently into a project that actually helped them to start their activities slowly. And also we have a board level committee that is looking into membership issues and how we can engage with the broader citizen science community. And we have a board level committee also on communications and stakeholder relationships, which is actually helping to organize today's session a lot. And also we have a technical working group or board level committee on UNEP's World Environment Situation Room. We will be hearing from one of our board members soon, shortly on that. If you're interested in joining any of these board level committees to contribute to them or to learn about Citizen Science Global Partnership more broadly, please get in touch with us if you're interested, and you can simply write to Katja and myself. Here are our email addresses. I would like to connect to the special collection that was announcing at the start of the session. With the Citizen Science Global Partnership, we would like to engage with citizen science associations, but especially with the US-based Citizen Science Association as well. Just because we're here in this particular session organized by CSA, I would like to highlight that we organized a special collection on the contributions of citizen science to the SDGs and international development frameworks as part of the journal Citizen Science Theory and Practice, which will come out in June. So you will be hearing more about that as we come closer to the launch date. And I'd like to finalize my presentation and thank you. Over to you, Austin.
Thanks so much, Dilek. I think what I'm going to do is ask people to hold their questions for Dilek for the moment. We're going to have a conversation later as a broader group. And instead, I'm going to introduce the next portion of the symposium, that is hearing from board members. This is an early draft of content that could be polished and shared on the CSGP website at some point. And I want to thank Katja for putting this together for us. It is an early version. However, I do think that it is valuable to us in this setting to put faces to names and also to give space to the diversity of voices on the board. Katja, if you could get that started for us. Thanks.
My name is Martin Brocklehurst. I am the chair of the board of the Citizen Science Global Partnership, for short, the CSGP. It is now clear we are entering a decade of citizen science when we will see international agreements on climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution embrace citizen science. The CSGP will give us a voice to influence these changes. We will be able to show citizen science is relevant for policymakers and that we can engage citizens at scale across the planet. To do this, we will all need to share our growing number of citizen science programs and bring to life the UNESCO Open Science recommendations. We must bring programs together that are tackling similar problems, learn the lessons, and grow local solutions to become a building block for global solutions. Through UNEP, we are being given the chance to not only influence key decision makers, but also to develop a new citizen science portal that is already part of the World Environment Situation Room. This is where we will be able to share our knowledge and experience and link our regional and national efforts. I leave you with the thought that we owe it to the next generation to work together and become a focus for global change through citizen science. Thank you.
Greetings from Australia. The Australian Citizen Science Association is coming up for its 10th anniversary. And from very small beginnings, we've grown on the passion and energy of our membership. We now have chapters in nearly every state, and we're well networked across this great continent. We have really good biennial conferences, and we have a well-respected and efficient management team that's a joy to work with, although nearly everybody is still a volunteer. We're increasingly consulted by government agencies, and since our strong advocacy of the UNESCO Open Science recommendation, we at last have a seat at the table with national policymakers. So we've got every hope of helping to leverage citizen science into the mainstream through this. We've always networked internationally. It's been one of the joys for us. We've joined international working groups, and we've been representing citizen science at global gatherings of the United Nations and things like the World Data Forum. And for us, the Citizen Science Global Partnership is a national progression of these collaborations, formalizing and amplifying what we can do together. And as a global community of interest and a powerhouse for new science across the world, we're really looking forward to this new chapter.
Hi, I'm Austin Mast, and I represent the Citizen Science Association on the CSGP board. CSA is currently celebrating its 10th anniversary, and we've got a lot to celebrate. We've got the journal, Citizen Science Theory and Practice, the recurring conferences, among a bunch of other things. And these things wouldn't be possible without a deep pool of engaged, passionate, innovative, resourceful members, all coordinated by an equally talented staff. CSA's many activities are engineered to catalyze success in our community around one core activity: broadening and especially deepening science engagement across historical boundaries to produce high-value knowledge that has a benefit to the world. CSA's involvement in CSGP gives us an opportunity to work with others across the globe to continue building excellence into that core activity. There's something magnetic about that activity. It attracts the kinds of thought leaders that I want to talk to, and has led to some of the most interesting, exciting conversations and projects of my 25-year career as a professional scientist. The CSA and the CSGP are not to be missed opportunities to transform science for big, positive, global impacts.
Hello all. My name is Maina Muniafu, the chair of CSI Africa Association. I'm also an associate professor at a university here in Kenya. Now, we as CSI Africa are in our infancy stages. And so we're very excited to be part of the global partnership. because we get to grow quickly. There's a lot of things to learn, and we learn from the other associations, and they also give us support. For Africa, we're looking forward to having citizen-generated data to be very significant factor in policy formulation. This we see as something that's going to lead to improved livelihoods, because whatever is formulated is going to have a greater significance to the citizens, having a greater understanding themselves of the environment, and ultimately the authorities will get it right in whatever they want to do. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Mariana Varese, and I represent RICAP at the board of the Citizen Science Global Partnership. RICAP was formalized in 2019 and convenes people and organizations working on participatory science across Latin America, the Caribbean, Spain, and Portugal. RICAP seeks to scale up the impact of participatory science in the region by facilitating collaboration, knowledge exchanges, and mutual capacity strengthening among partners and initiatives, to then inform policies and decisions. Collaboration with peer associations across the globe is key for us. We look forward to growing the CSGP into a hub of regional associations that leads initiatives to build constructive and horizontal collaborations between mainstream science and the public, between Western and indigenous knowledges, and between the global North and the global South. Building on our collective knowledge, together we can level the playing field with forward and innovative thinking, targeted actions, and leverage resources and funding.
Hi, my name is Mendo Wong. I'm the representative for CitizenScience.Asia on the board of the CSGP. Our mission for Asia is to build grassroots connections, sustainable capacity, and tangible conversations across the region to support the idea that everyone has the opportunity to contribute to knowledge discovery and affect positive changes in our world through citizen science. With the CSGP, it is our extended goal to ensure the necessary bidirectional communication between Asia and the rest of the world. Asia has a long history of practical citizen science practice and indigenous knowledge, is nearly 60% of the world's population, and is in the center of huge challenges relating to climate change, pollution, and loss of biodiversity. So it's now more important than ever for Asia to be a crucial part of the global dialogue and be embraced for its high diversity and potential impact. We envision the CSGP to provide a well-paved avenue for continuing dialogues as well as sharing between the global North and South, and also be a positive and influential advocate for diversity and inclusion to support the steady engagement of communities from around the world. We'll also continue to bring into focus scientific literacy and solutions while providing the necessary resources and support to mobilize our population at scale. Finally, we celebrate the global partnership as a testament to the recognized value of citizen science. Thank you.
My name is Martin Brocklehurst. I am the Citizen Science Global Partnership board member for the European Citizen Science Association, or ECSA for short. We have been on an amazing journey in Europe since we were launched 10 years ago at EU Green Week by the EU Environment Commissioner Janis Potočnik and the UNEP Chief Scientist Jacqueline McGlade. Citizen science is now an integral part of the EU Research and Development Programme Horizon Europe. Citizen data is now impacting EU legislation. The first laws based on citizen science data have been passed to deal with plastic pollution. Led by our director, Dorte Reichschneider, we have a thriving secretariat, a rising and passionate membership, and a growing budget. Our annual 2022 annual report, our EU Citizen Science platform, and our latest recruitment video tell our full story. Our vision of creating a world where people are empowered to make positive change through science is in sight. Our mission, to make science and research accessible and valuable for everyone, is now seen as attainable. Through the Citizen Science Global Partnership, we can now reach out to share our experiences, recognizing that we have a responsibility to work with others to make sure citizen science is at the heart of finding the solutions to the global problems we all now face. Thank you.
Thanks for that. I want to thank all the board members who contributed to that, and just recognize that there's a lot of passion there, and it's a fun group to be engaged in. We're going to turn now to a recording that Libby, Hepburn, produce for us that is going to tee up the conversation that we'll have afterwards. And Katja, when you're ready.
You've just had a quick introduction from all the regions currently in the Citizen Science Global Partnership Network. The Citizen Science Associations have come together from across the world to create this global hub for citizen science and to build together the next dimension in supporting the growing activity and influence of science with and for society. And I'm going to spend a few minutes now to give you a little global context before we ask for your contributions to explore and be curious about what we might do together. What we discovered when we were gathering the central statements of the global partnership was that all of the CSAs have very similar principles and values and aims. And that means that this network of networks is holographic. The individual organizations share the same ideas and approach. And what we know of holographic organizations is that when brought together as a cluster, each adds to and receives energy and intensity from the whole, and vice versa. And that's what we aim to do here by creating with each CSA mutually valuable relationships, creating with you a network of common aspirations and projects and collaborations, which can be translated into a powerful global force for our movement. We're a very new organization, just beginning to explore how we can make a difference. And we're really excited to be with you, as this session at the CSA conference is our first opportunity to introduce ourselves to you and to your US citizen science community of practitioners. CSA is a key stakeholder of the global partnership, and we want to explore with you how we can add the most value to your association, to your work, and to what you might be able to contribute to ours, and how you would like to explore the potential of citizen science globally. Everyone here today works in citizen science because we believe in its value and importance. And we've all seen citizen science projects and initiatives expanding dramatically across the world. And technology is our great enabler, and we're understanding better now what's needed to create and curate and make open the data that we can produce. At the same time, we're seeing the big global organizations like the UN and UNESCO recognizing that what is essential for their great global initiatives to succeed is the widest possible community understanding and contribution if we're to address together the big challenges of the future. And they are encouraging us to come together and collaborate with them. When the UN gave us the 2030 Agenda and the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, they gave us a framework of sane and important goals that can make a huge difference to the future of everyone's lives. And despite many governments, including my own, not embracing the SDGs to guide their policies, we've all seen how many organizations from local and city councils, universities, NGOs and businesses, schools and community groups recognizing their value and building initiatives around them. I'm co-chairing the Global Partnership Citizen Science and Open Science Community of Practice, working with UNESCO and nearly 200 COP members from 35 countries. So I've gained real insights into the potential power of this initiative. What I see is that we now have, in the Open Science Recommendation, signed in November last year by 193 countries, not only a framework, but also a process to move mainstream science through directed national policies in every country in the world towards a new landscape for science, more fitted into today's challenges and potentials. What we also see is that the principles and values on which the recommendation is founded are the same as ours. Citizen science is totally aligned with the principles and values in the recommendation and what 193 countries have signed up to. Have a look at this. 50% of the Open Science Recommendation, 2 of the 4 pillars, are about the areas we work in, opening science to society by open engagement with societal actors and open dialogue with other knowledge systems. And because of our decades of practical and theoretical work, we have the experience and expertise in the crucial areas where hardly anyone else has. So our time to make a real difference is now, if we can take advantage of it. I'm convinced this is the greatest opportunity we will ever have to leverage citizen science into mainstream science in every country in the world. We're now at a tipping point for citizen science to be given its rightful place in mainstream science and in national and regional policies to effect change for sustainability. What we've learned from our work with the Open Science Recommendation is that every country is at a different stage of engagement. But this is great because we can benefit from the experiences of others, and the global partnership aims to share the best of our collected experience and expertise, to build on these and to support the fast development of the movement across the world. And please don't think that the learning and sharing will be all one way. One of the joys of working in citizen science is that I've learned about so many amazing projects and successes from so many places. For instance, the Amazon project, where over 100 citizen science groups have been monitoring water quality and fish migrations for over 20 years, using the knowledge to help fisheries management and development and developing sophisticated contextual openness and data sharing. Or the Pacific Island community, who have very few scientific resources, but they do have citizen science and they're on the front line of climate change. So their citizen science projects are contributing data to SDG reporting far more than in much better resourced regions. There are many exciting stories to tell, and I hope that as we grow our relationships that we'll be able to share the best and learn from each other. So we'd like to spend the next few minutes beginning our conversation with you. It's part of all our values that we want to develop equity and inclusivity in our work. And now is an excellent time to think beyond our own place and how our methods and expertise can be offered to others. Over the next 20 minutes, we ask you to be curious and think about the US and its relationship to the global citizen science community. Think about those actors in your US ecosystem who are or might be interested in exploring, learning from, and contributing to citizen science globally. Or the second thing we'd like you to do is to think about topics. One of the key goals for the Citizen Science Global Partnership is to scale up citizen science. So what topics would you or do you think others in the US would be interested in linking up internationally or globally? Please write your thoughts in the chat and we'll scribe onto the Miro board and talk about them later. We'll allow 20 minutes to gather your ideas and then we can begin that conversation about your initial thoughts. You're invited to add to the Miro boards over the next few weeks, and if any of you are interested in working with us, then please do get in touch. Thank you all very much for your first contributions, and we look forward very much to developing the conversations with you in the future.
I hope that you'll agree with me that Libby gave us a lot to think about. Libby wanted to join us, but she's traveling at the moment and unable to do so. This is a point in the program where we are going to open it up to a conversation. The CSGP is thinking about this as stakeholder engagement. And I hope that the presentations and this activity leave you with the recognition that you and your project can be important stakeholders at the global level. The conversation will happen in maybe 3 channels, certainly over audio, but also in chat and on a Miro board. We're going to share the Miro board here momentarily, and Katya is going to be curating that along with anyone who feels comfortable adding things to a Miro board. I think it's fairly straightforward, but not everyone is necessarily familiar with it. The 2 prompts that Libby introduced can be thought of as which actors from our community are or potentially are important stakeholders at the global level, and which topics will benefit significantly from coordination at a global level in a way that complements coordination at a regional level. We had a really nice illustration of how going global can supercharge a project with the plenary talk earlier on the Globe project. I encourage you to raise your virtual hand and I'll recognize you if you want to share. Please feel free to introduce yourself with a sentence or two if it seems relevant to your comment and you feel comfortable doing that. And before I open it up more broadly, I'll just turn to Mariana and ask, Mariana, do you have anything that you'd like to add as a board member of the CSGP?
No, the videos were long, and I think Libby's talk was very insightful and provoking. And I think the most important wealth of this session will be in the conversation where we can exchange ideas. The CSA being an old, a relatively old citizen science association, has lots of experience and lessons to share with the others. So we would really appreciate your insights. Thanks,
Mariana. And I'm seeing in the chat, Katja, that Heather is noting that the Miro board is view-only access. If it's not simple to make it more open, we can just rely on you to add things to the Miro board as they're discussed. Katja, would you like to share the Miro board, or Dilek, you could do it if you have it open.
Austin, I already reshared the link with the appropriate permits. You guys can let me know if you can edit directly. Do you mean share the screen?
Well, I was thinking, go ahead, Dilek.
The link, yes, exactly.
Just Katja, on top of the screen, there is share. If you could click on it, anyone with the link can edit.
Yes, I already sent the link, and this second link, somebody just confirmed that it works. Thank you, Dilek.
Okay.
Connie, I see, has made a contribution in the chat, the Globe at Night Citizen Science Program, which monitors light pollution levels worldwide, has been involving citizen scientists from many countries worldwide for 17 years. I'd very much like to get involved with CSGP. That would be an actor to add to that part of the Miro board. Sophia, I see your hand up.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Sophia Liu. I work at the U.S. Geological Survey. And my sort of question is, I know this is a common conundrum that's been going on in terms of names and terminology, given that you guys are called Citizen Science Global Partnership. I'm wondering if there are efforts or thoughts around and conversations that have gone on how narrowly you are looking at in terms of citizen science in these initiatives, how that might inform any changing of names, if that seems necessary. Just for context, as you know, in the US with federal agencies, there's some agencies that have moved to using phrases like participatory science. And within the US GSI, I was a part of some recent conversations just within our own agency about participatory science, where some have viewed it, there's a group of us that want to view it very broadly, one of which could include things like citizen science, but also, as you kind of ended, this being a form of stakeholder engagement as another, and then also even thinking about usability studies, user experience design, and how that's another form of engagement, where it's to help improve the development of products and services of site. So thought I'd just kind of put that out there, but also contribute to the Miro board on specific topics and actors. Thanks.
Thanks, Sophia. Dilek, you have more history with the board. I started when it was formed in October. You've been there since the early history of CSGP. Do you want to say anything about that?
Thank you, Austin, and thank you, Sophia. This is Wonderful question. I don't know where to start actually, but we are very new organization. We're just trying to establish ourselves. But what I can say is that, and what I can assure the whole community is that we're basically inclusive to all different terminologies and all sort of all different ways of doing citizen science or doing citizen engagement or public engagement in scientific research and knowledge production activities. So we didn't get a chance to deep dive into the names or the name change yet, but we acknowledge and follow quite closely the discussions that are happening in the US context, in other parts of the world as well. But within the European context, and we're established currently in Europe and probably will also benefit from the European funding, and the terminology that is mostly used within the European funding or among the European funding organizations is citizen observatories. Probably you haven't heard of it at all in the US, as well as citizen science. So at the moment, it looks like at least we are using this terminology, but we don't know yet, and we're open to any kind of discussion about this topic moving forward. But what I would like to emphasize again, we're inclusive of all diverse activities, regardless whether it's community-led or academia or research institution-led. We're really, we embrace all different types of practices and activities. Thank you, Austin, and thanks, Sophia.
Thanks, Dilly. My experience with the board has been that it's very Big Tent. The intention is to be broadly supportive of global activities around what we might call citizen science, community science, co-created science, participatory science. Rusty, I see your mic is off. Did you want to say something? I'm sorry, your mic is unmuted is what I meant. Did you want to say something?
No, I might as well. Yes, thank you. So I just wanted to say that I'm so glad that this is moving forward. The project that I've been involved with through the Globe Observer Mosquito Habitat Mapper is actually a CSGP project. I think one of the first two, the Global Mosquito Alert Consortium. It's still on the website. And I want to say that we started out in 2017, identifying partners. You know, Martin was there, Mendel was there. We've been moving forward, and I'm happy to say that we now, and I'll put it in the chat, we now have sort of made concrete a dashboard that is integrating data from the Mosquito Alert Project in Spain, the Globe Observer Mosquito Habitat Mapper, which is an international project, and also iNaturalist. And we have a dashboard that helps us to do this. You know, it's only possible through interoperable data, alignment to CSG standards and things like that. But I just wanted to do a shout out about why this is so important that this is happening, and that it does have long roots. It takes a long time for things to happen, as I think I mentioned earlier, but it's very exciting to see where it's gone forward. And I'll just put the GMAC, I think we call it, the GMAC project in the chat, if you'd like to take a look at it. It's also on the website. Thanks, that's all I wanted to say.
Thanks, Rusty. I see Char's organization has a hand up.
Good afternoon, my name is Gwen Smith, and I'm the Executive Director for Community Health, Aligning Revitalization, Resilience, and Sustainability. So I'm a nonprofit organization, not a citizen science entity of which we're speaking here, but looking at the blue notes and thinking about what can we do to scale up. We do a lot of environmental health work and looking at climate change and some of the issues with the SDGs. My organization is doing international work, partnering with Pocosito, with Mr. Max Grunig and Oliver Gorth, which is with the Goethe Institute, and have received funding from the Hala Foundation. And what we're looking at doing, the work that we're looking at doing, I think would be beneficial in thinking about citizen science, is collaborating with other communities internationally, with youth that are experiencing some of the same challenges that are being experienced by marginalized communities in the United States, and working collaboratively with these youth, working on projects together, because air, water, wind, they don't know boundaries and borders. So I think if we can think about some of those things when we start looking at how can we scale some ideas.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And I see that many of you are involved in the Miro board and actively adding things, which is fantastic. And I saw that you were involved in the blue side of that earlier. Were you able to add a sticky note related to that? It's kind of hard to summarize in a short phrase.
Oh, absolutely. I was getting ready to, and I thought, let me say something in case I don't get it on there exactly. At least that thought is out there. So I'm going back to the blue board now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Great points. Really great points. Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity there. I'm seeing other entries that haven't been presented yet in the group, and I welcome any comments that anyone has that they'd like to. Food sovereignty, for example, is something that's been added. Invasive species, I'm looking at the topics now. Data, fair and care, Sophia just added. Open science practices, which Libby has explored quite a bit in her presentation. Charles, is your hand back up, or is it still up from before? I think I'll move on to Stephania.
Hi, I'm Stephania. I live in Iowa, US, and I work with the network of the National Library of Medicine, but I'm originally from Colombia. And my mic is up. Then something that I see that is very important for Citizen Science Association and his role, like with the global community in citizen science, is because the realities of a lot of areas in the world and science in the world, we are a huge diaspora in the US. Then we are a lot of people working in these that still keep strong connections with our countries and our regions. And I think that we are here right now because we are in the US. But those ties that we have can be like, I don't know, I think like a figure as an ambassador or something like that. Then in my specific case, I still work pretty close with citizen science in Colombia, but it can be as active. And sometimes it's in the matter of finding resources or finding connections and supporting low resources that sometimes are resources, but not as much as in the US. Even if here are low, there are lowest. And like, I think that is one big connection. And I add the food sovereignty post-it too. And I think that we have a lot to do there. And it's a huge movement going around. And that movement is trying to really give like the rigorosity of science to find local solutions. And we can connect with more like strong projects in citizen community science that have been more strong in air pollution, water pollution, and how we can tie that with what we are eating. And we can support better that area that needs more citizen science practice and more rigorous practices to document what they are doing.
That's a good point. And I hadn't thought about that before. Diasporas as resources for this kind of integration happening at a global level. That's a really nice idea. Thank you. Mariana.
An important topic that I've seen that I will put my spoon, I will provide a recap experience that an important challenge we face is this tension between data sovereignty and open access data, and where the data is hosted and who hosts it and how it is managed and who makes the final decision. We're trying to get an open data shared database in 4 countries in the Amazon region, and it's a nightmare. Like, everybody wants to have it. And I think CSA and EXA also have a very good experience and a lot of progress made in terms of interoperability and protocols and terms of use, that sharing those learnings, especially on the institutional side, more than the technological side, would be very important.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's data sharing is certainly a important issue that FAIR and CARE are attempting to begin to address, but I think that the community has a role to play in establishing some domain-specific guidance and maybe strategies. It's a great point, Mariana. Thank you. Katja, I see your hand up.
Yes, I am monitoring the amazing content that everybody is already adding in the Miraboard, so thank you very much. I would like to push you a little bit more in the direction of, as we have been speaking, one of the objectives of today's session is to identify these places where we can already begin to collaborate, right? And some of the content that I see in the Miraboard it could be still general. So a little bit, I would like to push you to be more specific. For example, if you think about some actors, private sector companies, do you have a specific private sector company to work in mind that you're working with that we can also work with? Or open science practices, do you have a specific example that you're already working on open science that we can collaborate with? Because this will enable us to pinpoint already ideas for collaboration tomorrow, right? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Katja. Yeah, we're very action-oriented on that CSGP board, and so any hot leads that people can provide are much appreciated. Maybe there is a private sector company represented here that is really interested in supporting this kind of work. It's important work and it needs support. It's not possible to do good without doing well. And so we're looking for resources as well. Other thoughts?
Austin, if I may come in. I was just also wondering, similar to Katja's thoughts about, I see that some of the topics that are added are very, very interesting, and some of the things that we have been already thinking about, engaging with different actors and having some conversations with maybe some of you even. I was just wondering, like, if you think of most or low-hanging fruit or most important topic that citizen science can actually contribute a lot to, what would that be? So we've seen a great example on mosquito alert, and one of the things we would like to do at the Citizen Science Global Partnership to work with different citizen science initiatives that are working on similar topics like mosquito monitoring, or maybe beach litter, beach cleanup, or water quality monitoring, to talk to them, to work with them, to help them, if possible, to align their methodologies with each other, as well as maybe the global methodologies, the global monitoring methodologies from the UN or others, to produce global data sets that could really help guide policies, both at a local level or at a global level. And we've seen some great examples of that. Can you think of other topics that we can actually cover in addition to these that we've just been hearing about? And maybe if there's a possibility to prioritize them.
Thanks, Tilak. Any thoughts on that? I will say that prioritization is hugely important. Having great ideas is not the problem. We have boatloads of great ideas. Capacity to deliver on great ideas is really where the community is finding itself in need. I think that it's a matter of prioritizing and making all of our resources relevant, maximally relevant. Any thoughts on Dilek's question? We can continue to think about that. I see Rusty, you turned your video on. Did you want to?
Oh, I'll
share a
just,
thought
yeah,
on that?
thank you so much. Thank you for pulling out, talking about the global mosquito alert. And, you know, when we started that project back in 2017, you know, one of the issues that we have faced as a global program is, for instance, our partners with Mosquito Alert were able to get some EU funds. You know, in the US, we were able to get some NSF funds, but in an ability to pull these things together has been a little bit difficult because of funding sources and also the fact of proximity. But now that we do have this this dashboard created, you know, it's developed to be extensible. So for instance, if the Asian Citizen Science Association wanted to put in vector data, we're now able to include that. We just, it's always a question of things with technology. It's surprising how much money not money, but how much time it takes, I guess, to make a digital asset that is robust, take care of it when you know, there are glitches and you've got some code issues. You know, there's maintenance costs that are involved in and hidden. And you know, quite frankly, with the funding that we obtained with the US NSF to make that digital dashboard, we did not plan adequately for the cost of maintaining that dashboard. And so this is just something that I wanted to mention as, you know, one of the challenges, I think, is the ongoing minor costs, but how do you provide that when you have these large projects with multiple actors and very small funding sources?
That's a great point. Yeah, I think about that as the Red Queen problem.
Yes.
When you produce this technology, you just constantly running. You're constantly running just to stay in place.
Exactly. Very good.
You cannot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm seeing some comments in the chat. Robert Stevenson, do you want to expand on that thinking? Private citizens, foundations.
Hi, Austin. I'm happy to say words. My sense is that citizen science is incredibly effective at gathering science data, much more effective than many other options because of the ability of people to participate and volunteer their time at broad spatial and temporal scales. I would make the claim that I think 80% of the data in GBIF come from citizen science related programs. And so I think it's easy to make a case that to obtain these sustainability goals, that is the only tool that's going to do it. And there are, money is a big barrier. I think scientists themselves are slowly accepting the value of citizen science or community science. Although we worked hard to get our union card, it's not the only way to go forward, speaking as a scientist. But I think that there's an amazing amount of wealth in the world and people are sitting on it. It's not time to sit on it anymore. It's time to spring it loose because things are changing so rapidly. And then the only other comment I would say about the technology is it really is a Red Queen situation. But what you find at the most successful biodiversity citizen science projects are people who've mastered the technology and have a passion for what they're doing. You don't want to hire software engineers who know anything about their topic. You want to hire the people who are passionately interested in water quality or water amounts or air quality or biodiversity. And those are the people at iNaturalist and Cornell who've made it so successful. They have that joint passion. So when you hire engineers, try to find the people that can do that. And NSF will never be the solution because they only want newness. They don't support infrastructure. So that's never going to work. So you have to have another solution. And Cornell, the eBird Merlin Nexus only has about 40 people that are paid full-time, only 40. And iNaturalist only has 8 or 10 at the most. That's a very small bill for a global scale project that is unmatched. And even if you convinced citizen science, NSF to allow people doing research to take some of their outreach money and give it to citizen science programs, you'd have a huge pot of money. So there's lots of interesting things to do, but it involves shaking hands and making connections with foundations. And I don't know anybody in the organization who's doing that as much as we need to do it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I have been impressed by the CSGP board's focus on elevating citizen science generated data in the minds of people who are using it for policy at the UN and potentially elsewhere. I do think that that's something that CSGP is really doing well in a way that maybe few others are.
That's exciting to hear. Fantastic.
Yeah.
I would like to add with something that you bring that I find really important, and it's like with the big amounts of data and the need that we need to process this data with engineers, with coders, with developers, and the challenge that science is having with these profiles. Because even with the layoffs, a lot of these profiles are going to the tech industry and startups because the salaries are like 10 times. It's like it's not a way to compete. And a lot of people that has those skills are not staying in science, are not staying in research. But at the same time, that is their passion of they have is that one, but they are picking the choice to go to a better salary. But then these communities of coding and developers, maybe we are not well connected with them because they are promoting inside their organizations a lot of volunteer work and a lot of things like, and they have even time inside their contracts to do volunteer work. And the thing that is happening with that volunteer work is like they go and paint on a school. Then you are having like a super wow data scientist, analyst painting on a school, and that is an important job. But that person could be helping us to manage and evaluate data that we have all around the world that can help us to improve the policy of that school. Maybe if we